Hello everybody and welcome to day 16, 17 and 18 in one. Today we're going to be doing a galaxy, a moonlit sky and a daytime cloud effect. So as you can see, I've got my watercolour paper down and I'm using, this is going to be the daytime cloud effect, and I'm just using two colours, which is iris blue and sepia ink. It is with the Inktense pencils. So we're going to get straight into it because I've got three. I don't really want to be dawdling about. Oh, that's a bit worried that my brush is not clean. Just bear with me. Let me just get rid of that one for now. A bit of a dodgy brush. So I'm just going to give this a light layer, a full saturation of colour. I don't want any puddles, but an even layer of water. So it's nice and wet, but not necessarily any puddling. So I am starting to slowly and surely start learning. Oops, I'm going to keep whacking my camera there, I'm sorry. That's got a nice even layer of water. It's quite well saturated. I'll just go a bit more because it's drying out in quickly in places. My camera's too low for this. Maybe I should have pulled it up while we working. So all these today will be with Inktense. I'm just making sure that I don't have no puddles anywhere. There we go, that's nicely saturated there. So what I'm going to do now is mix these two, and I want a mixture of the iris blue and a slight bit of the sepia, and I'm just mixing the two together. So I've got them on here and I'm mixing the two together. Just drop my pencil. I need to raise the lip of my thing. So we want kind of an even mix here. And I'm just going to come out on the tip of my brush. I'm just going to come and I'm just going to add just bits wherever we want to. Kind of making a nice cloudy cover a bit. I'm just going to add a bit more blue in. So it's a nice even mixture of colours we've got going on. I'm kind of just making a nice pattern between the sepia and the iris blue. And I'm going to come over here a bit, and I'm just keeping my brush on the side. But not too much that you get the brush marks. I don't want it to look like we've got brush marks going on. A little bit more of that in with the sepia. It's kind of like you're getting a nice combination of the two colours. Add a bit more sepia in. And my aim is to kind of get it to resemble some kind of clouds. But the thing is, if this was watercolour, I could soak some of that up and taken away some of the colour, but I can't do that with Inktense, because with Inktense, I'll just show you, this is just clear water. You can't soak it back up because, well, you can a little bit actually. It is doing it a little bit. So now I just want to get some of this iris blue on its own. I'm going to come up here and add some of this blue in. Tiny bit of iris blue in there, just ever so slightly. We've probably got, keeping it on the side of the brush helps, because you're not going to get the because my brightness is too bright on this. Let me just move light out the way, because I'll lift it up slightly because I'll tone this brightness down. Oops, not that much. And then we're going to add more blue in here. Sorry, my phone was going off and it was vibrating on my desk, and it was really off-putting for a second. What I'm going to do is just add all this blue in down here now. I'm going to add the blue in where I feel it needs to go. I mean, this is the first time I've done clouds, and I don't understand why this watercolour paper I'm using, it's Faber Castell's pure watercolour paper, and it's buckling. I'm not too sure it's meant to do that or not. Let's just add a bit of sepia into my mix here. I just want to bring ever so slowly just a bit of a grey edge to that cloud. I don't want it to have this like perfect edge. I want it to look soft on the edge. As we all know that clouds are nowhere near straight, and in between we might have a bit of a blue gap. I'm just going to start playing around with it now and adding in blue where I'm just going to pop a bit more blue on this side. It's just more about playing with it than it is. So I'm going to put a bit of blue in here. And I'm just shaking it round. It just as though there's a gap in that cloud there. And I'll probably put some water down some white acrylic paint as well for this, just as a bit of a different effect. So let me just change to this square one just for a second, just see if I can get a better texture going on. I'm just going to add the blue in. And by just using it on the tip, it's just adding that colour in where we need it. And kind of so I'm just looking at it and thinking, right, well, where do I want to go with this? So I want to add a bit of sepia in, and I'm just going to bring a bit of I'm just keeping it on its edge. And same over here. I feel that these are a little too white. So I've just got a cloudy sky in front of me, and I'm kind of trying to take away some of that edginess, but I don't know if I'm going too grey here. I don't think I'm liking this, but I'm going to keep going with it because, like I've said in the past, we don't know how it's going to turn out, so I'm just going to keep going with it. Because it could look great when it's finished. But if I don't make these challenges up and we don't do them, I'm never going to know if I'm ever going to do it. So I'm trying to not shy away from it. I think at the minute it's not really resembling any kind of sky. Need it brighter, like a big bold bright blue. Add a bit of Add a bit of deep blue, I think. Whoops. Pencils flying everywhere. This may be a long video. If this brings much brightness to it. I'll just have to see what this is. Oh no, that's completely wrong. Right, where's my deep blue? See if this has got a bit of brightness to it. And I'm going to add a bit of white. This is the kind of background where I think, yeah, I can do that. Looks dead easy. It ain't at all. So let me just put some white down. And let's activate the white. See if I can rescue some of this, or if it's just going to look grey. Just not doing anything. Oh, why didn't I do this with watercolour? And the page is really, it's not staying wet. And to say it's not meant to move the ink after, it is actually moving. But what I'm finding really bizarre is that the page, the paper's actually warping. Okay, so let's try and get some of this sepia going again. That's much better. That bright blue, what's coming in there, could do with it being even brighter, but got what we've got. I'm going to get it to look like a cloud, I am. I'm just going to bounce this square brush. And I'm just going to start adding in where I think this deeper blue is really helping. I'm going to add this blue running down here. Over the top of these. It's starting to look a bit better than it did. I'm definitely going to water down some white acrylic paint. I'm going to add a bit more deep blue, just pure deep blue on its own, into this area. Trying to get it to look less speckly. I mean, I don't think there's any right or wrong when it comes to doing skies. It's just subjective. I just feel like this. I have this cloudy image in my mind, which kind of looks like this but doesn't. I mean, this is a very cloudy day. I'm going to add a bit in the middle of here, so that's peeping through that cloud. kind of like that greyed blue effect travelling out of there. So let me get some white acrylic. Wherever it's gone walkabout. Why these things get taken out of my drawers? I'm putting the wrong drawer completely. So let me just try some of this white acrylic. I want to water it down. Just put it in here. Tiniest little drop. Just clean this brush off. I'm just going to add some water to this and really water it down. Get it really watered down. So I'm going to try and bring some of the white clouds back a bit here. Only purely because this is Inktense. If this was watercolour, I'd be able to just pick it up and draw it back out, but with watercolour you can't. So I'm hoping that this goes well, because if not, I could probably mess it up here. But I said at the beginning, I'm not taking my bloopers out, and I will find a way to correct it. So let me try. Just keep this brush on its side. I'm just kind of working with that tip. So this is the consistency I've got the acrylic paint to. Really, really runny white paint. And I'm just going to bring that in and just use it as our bright bit. In fact, I don't want to use that round filbert type of brush, so I'm going to clean off the square brush because it gives it a better effect. Being stubborn and not letting go of the blue. Let's get in with the white and just keeping it on its tip. Much better. I'm going to like flash it in a bit. That looking much better now. Because it's thin enough, it's still going to see that grey underneath, but it lets you come out a little bit into that grey. And I'm literally just bouncing off the edge of the brush. I'm kind of making it come out. This is all just off the top of my head, so it's got probably all painters out there going, oh no, but hey, well. So let's get in some of this here. Kind of just bouncing it again. You kind of want it to look, you know how clouds get them different layers of colour in them. That's what I'm kind of going for. So I think I'm getting that cloud effect that I was after. I'm going to keep working with it, but I can't say I'm liking it very much. I'll keep going because it'll come out to a cloud at some point. Get a dry, soft brush and just pull some of that out. Pull that out. That looks much better. And then I just put some in here, and then I'm going to bring that out with this brush. Mostly flat-headed brushes these that I'm using. So yeah, if I don't think if there'd have been if I'd have done this with watercolour, like I said, I could have got these shapes with literally just soaking it up. So let's get some of this going. So with this white acrylic paint, I'm literally just putting it into them and then just washing it out into that grey. And then this one is kind of in front of it. And just bouncing that just on the edge, just so it softens it off. I want that to look really white there. Okay. I'll push that out. So then with, I'll come back to that in a second actually. My nose just made the strangest of noises. Come back with the Inktense in a second. Once we've sorted this bit out. I'm just trying to get rid of any harsh lines that are there. Okay, let's move on to this bigger cloud. So like I said, if this was done with watercolour, it probably would be able to be done it would have looked much better because you could soak it up into nice little fluffy shapes. But obviously Inktense being Inktense, it's hard. You could probably achieve a really good cloud effect with Inktense. I'm just not good enough yet to do it. So if you do know a better way, feel free to put in the comments. But this is all about challenging me and myself. So this is, I've said, right, found a cloud picture and this is how I've interpreted that picture, and as a non-professional this is how I would try and execute it. So if it's wrong, I do apologise. I'm going to go in with a finer brush as well, the one I'm using to blend this out. I'm going to go in with that, with the Inktense in a second as well, and add some darker areas in these edges. I'll just push some of this out. And I'm kind of like pushing on it and forward and bouncing it, so it's trying to take that sharp edge off. Where's my sponges when you need them? Just bring a bit of white in over here. Probably why you find I'm pretty quiet on this one, because I'm really concentrating. I think I was like this on one of the backgrounds earlier as well. Why my washi tape's coming up there? Probably it's not a very good one to use, probably. Okay, so what I want to do now, I'm going to put that brush up there. No, I need to get this fillet off it. Give that a good clean. Because I want to just titillate around now with the blue, but with the little brush. And I don't have a number for this brush, it's just tiny. That's a 5mm square. Well, 7mm square, and you can see it's about half, it's probably about 3mm wide brush. And I'm just going to activate this blue again. I'm just going to dab that on. I need a bit of this on this side, which is the deep blue. And a tiny bit of the iris blue. Let's just activate some of them again. And I'm just going to bounce in where I think I want some of that blue to be highlighted again. And this just helps the clouds then get more depth. See, I nearly would have give up on it. I nearly would have give up on it, but I didn't. So I'm going to mix the two. I'm proud of myself because I didn't, but I was getting a little bit stressed. Thinking, oh, I don't know if I can do this. So this is just where, obviously, I took some of that wetness off my brush and I'm just bouncing just that very tip. And it just helps break it up again. And same in here. Control that down the centre of the, just ever so slightly. It's a very wispy sky, isn't it? I quite like it. But this tiny little edged brush just helps me get in between where I need to, but not making it look, not giving it no harsh edges, and that's what I'm after. I just want a really soft movement to the colour I'm using. I want that to be a really bright blue sky. I'm just going to add some more of this iris blue in. Actually, I should have worked with this little brush first. That would have been good. You know, just to deepen all this bit up, make it more of a bluer sky, smoother texture to it. Let's try and smooth that out a bit. Looks like a clear summer sky there. and just paints it into there. I'm quite liking that now. Just doing the really finer detail of, I don't know, I'm just letting my brush do the work where I think I want it to work. I think I want this to come up here. Into that. I mean, I'm not professional enough to make paint look real at this moment in time. I'm very much a beginner. But this is quite cool. So I hope you can follow along. I'm not being very instructive, to be honest, because I'm kind of experimenting as I go. So do forgive me if I'm not being as informative as I was before on other videos, but I'm just trying to figure it out. So I want to make this a bit bigger here. Want that a bit brighter here. It's too much cloud, I think, going on. I'm going to go over all of this bit. Because the grey that's under there make it look a bit broken up as well. And I think this cloud here needs breaking up. Just from sitting back and looking at it. It definitely needs a bit less cloudage going on. I think I want this to look more blue. I don't think I could get any better than what I've done. I think this is probably my limit on clouds. I'm just going to bounce that in there. I think to bring some of this deep blue in, bring in the bigger brush and just kind of play on this bit a bit more. Just putting different levels of the same blue in, just layering it up just to see if how it'll come out, if it looks a bit more bluer. And this is a number 10 flat coat brush. Don't even know if I'm giving you the right name. I think I want to do something with this bit here. A little brush. I just felt like I can change in some of the clouds, but they don't look. Let's try and put some like dips and swirls in. May have to be one video in itself. Because this is an hour video now. No, maybe they have dips in them. And then if I get a bit of the sepia in, we can also darken up some of these in places, some of the clouds, you know, and give the cloud a bit of definition. Just mixing a bit of white in that. I can hear a bird tweeting, I'm sure. I may have just ruined that cloud. But just trying to deepen it up. I just don't think there's anywhere now that I could change how it looks. Go that really dark. Make these look like darker clouds coming in. Might be happy with that. Not all our clouds are pure white, are they? I'm going to bounce a bit of this white in places as well. Just have a play at changing things around a bit. I don't know if I'm making it worse or if I'm making it better. I'm just going to keep experimenting. All I keep saying to myself in my mind, art is subjective and people will love it or they will hate it. I think what I want to do I get a whole lot of the darker one again, the deep blue. I'm going to run that out quite thick, and I can take out this corner here. I just don't think there's enough blue in it. I think that's what's making me think, oh, it looks so I think there's just too much white. I think that's my issue with it. I'm going to come in here the same. Does that look like sky? What's that coming out in song in a minute? Let me just bounce at this here. This edge. Yeah, I think I'm liking this a bit better. Do you know what it reminds me of? Like it's a satellite up in space and we're looking down at the Earth. Well, you get my drift. I'm going to put a big blue bit here as well. So I am definitely not teaching you here by any means stretch of the imagination, but I am literally, you're learning along with me because I'm like, right, let's get this done. Clouds, let's give it a try. Let's do this bit here because I feel like I don't like that pointy bit. I like the breaking up of them a bit more. Much better. I'm just going to use my finger and push that out a bit. There. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I don't think I'm going to get that any more like clouds. I really don't. So I'll just take this off. Whether it looks like sky is yet to be deciphered, but as far as my expertise go, that is my sky. So I'll leave that up there to dry. That's going to be my sky. So the three colours, we wet down some white acrylic paint. Oh, why does everything keep rolling off my desk? I'm trying to consider whether getting this glass mat was a good thing or getting it was a bad thing. Okay. So the three colours I've just used in that was the white acrylic, the deep blue, iris blue, and antique white. And I used the square Royal & Langnickel size 10 bright brush. I don't know what number this is, but it worked out that that was a 3mm. And then sepia ink as well. I forgot about that one. Sepia ink, deep blue, iris blue, and antique white. So that's them ones. So let's move on to our Galaxy. I'll just pop them in there to clean a second. We've got the Galaxy colours out, just get them out of the way. Let me just clean these brushes. I'm hoping the Galaxy one will go right today. Shouldn't really be in for the process of cleaning the brushes, should we? Okay, well. Let's give this a good clean before we move on. And I'm missing a brush, just bear with me a second while I just get my other brush. For this one, I want to have a round brush as well. Oh, got a little bit of sponge on there. Okay, so let me just give you that little one clean. Let's turn this round using that one. Let's stick the next piece down. Pink one this time. Probably could do with some actual good tape for taping. Oh, I don't believe I've just done that. They're all my pencils for my Galaxy and I've just knocked every one of them off on the floor. Do you not just feel like some days you have a day where you just think, this day needs to start again? Pick them up in a second. Oh. So this Galaxy is again Inktense. And today we're going to be using I'll just turn all these around so you can see them. Navy blue, deep indigo, lagoon, mauve, thistle, deep violet will go in there. And then this one is fuchsia, thistle, and then mauve. Let me just check. Deep violet. Yeah, so deep violet, then lagoon, deep indigo, and navy blue. So navy blue before deep indigo. And that is how it's going to go. So I'm just going to pop these over here in that right order. Well, hopefully they don't roll off again. Okay, so I'm going to wet the whole of this with my big wet brush. But what I want to do, this I want to keep. I want to have pools of wet on here. What I'm going to do firstly, I'm going to get our lightest colour, which is fuchsia, and that's going to start off here. And I'm going to wet my square, this brush, which is the bright flat coat brush, size 10, and I'm just going to add that in and let it do or go where it wants to. And I'm going to work quick with it. It's probably very similar to the effects that we had with the marble. Then thistle. So each one is going that bit darker. And if my page dries up, what I'll do, I will dry it and then re-wet it. So I'm just going to bounce these round in all different areas. And I'm thinking space, I'm thinking the movement and things like that as we go deeper. And then just letting it kind of spread out. You can do this same motion but with greens and blues. You could even add a bit of greens into this as well. There's nothing saying you can't do that. But each one I'm just going that little bit darker. You can see here from my palette, you know, the colours that are going darker each time. I'm just going to add them in. It's getting a bit dry, so I'm just going to add wet my brush as well as picking it up. Might add in just a tiny bit of, let's have a see. Mallard green. Yeah, mallard green. Let's have a bit of mallard green. Just for a bit of extra galaxy effect. I'm going to mix it in with the purple. I'm just going to dot it about. And then when I've done these bits, get this a bit more green. Gorgeous colour that. And once I've got that kind of on, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to dry that off first. Well, that's just got a little bit, just add a bit of purple in there. I'm just going to get my dryer on. Let's dry that layer up. Okay, I don't understand why this watercolour paper is buckling, but it is, which is very strange. But it is holding the position of the paint. It's not going into a dip and not. Some papers it will just bunch all into the middle, so it's looking quite good. So the next layer now is going to be the darker layers. So I'm going to move it out of the way the colours that we've used, so I don't put them up again. And I'm going to re-wet the layers. And I'm not quite going to do the middle yet. I will come back to the middle in a second. So next up we've got deep violet. I'm just going to bring on my round brush this time. I'm just going to bounce that all around these edges here. I'm just going to let that go where it wants to take it. Add a bit more water there. So this one's going to end up with quite a bit of water on it, I think. And I'm not going to make it even. It'll just be what it'll be. But I'm going to come back to the middle in a second. So re-wet the edges again. And bring back our next colour, which is Lagoon. And this is going more into a blue kind of. Because the paper's buckling, which shouldn't, may I add, because it's watercolour paper, it should be able to take this water so now it's getting a massive water build up here, which is not what I want. Now we're going to water down the middle, all this section here. And then firstly I'm going to drop in some of the lagoon. I'm really not happy with how this is really behaving, it's just not. I'm just going to drop some bigger bubbles in, see if we can get that to do more what I'm after. I mean, you think, oh, Galaxy, looks easy, that. It's not. It's definitely not easy, especially when your paper doesn't behave how you want it to behave. So next up we have navy blue. And this is going up right in the corners here. This is not going on as dark as I would like it either. Oh, it really doesn't look like a galaxy. This is not a very good let's see how this looks. Which is deep indigo. And it should be really dark. So let's really get this wet again here. Maybe I'll work in bits and sections and see where it goes. I think what's spoiling it now is it's just buckled, so everything what I'm doing is just running where I don't want it to run, and it's really frustrating because I thought this was a really good decent paper, but it obviously isn't. The pigment's not going into the paper, it's just sitting there. I think it's just going to meet in the middle. Right, let me dry that off. See what happens. To me it looks more like marble. Might not be all white bit there as well. So let's add some black into that now. This may not work board well for my moon one. Let's mix some black in with our deep indigo and try and darken this up. I mean, not even blacks, darkening up the way I want it to. Okay. That's all popping out now. It's all going to pot. I keep picking this up and travelling around the board with it. Could end up ruining this right now. But we'll see. Hopefully I don't. I'm using a really big kind of wash brush now to try and put in just something to get it to look more galaxy. Just anything. I think maybe I'm ruining it a bit now, I don't know. We'll just have to see. There you. Let's mix this up again. Kind of make a swirl. It's just not deepening up down here as much as I would like it to. I still see them colours underneath. I'm not too worried about that. So let me just put pure black on now, see if we can get a bit stronger around this edge. Because right now I'm not too worried about the paper coming off its thing. I'm just trying to get it to look spacey. I think it's getting there. Come on, Galaxy. Nee, 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 nee. I'm starting to think now, can I get all three done in? I'm going to dab this dark around now. It's flicking some, I'm not bothered. I mean, it's going to look good again once you start putting the dark in. I mean, I get it if you don't think it's good. And I understand, but it's a shellarty version. I never do anything normal. I'm just going to double these about. Oh, there's some doubles around in there as well. Quite like that. Looks like it's going down a some kind of invisible hole. Let's see if I can blend out some of that line with this pinky purple. Much better. That's starting to look more like I want it to now. So let's just do one more layer of black around this edge. In fact, I'm going to dry it first and then a bit more black. That I used for my thingy one actually. The white acrylic paper I've got left now. Okay, so let me just get the black down again. Just need to sharpen it. See if I can get them edges a little bit more black. It's quite a bit on here. Let's just do these very corners and kind of get the water and bring that out a little bit. I'm getting my fingers in there. Let's pick up some of that blue lagoon and that purple and just blend it out with that. It's a very painted day. Let's Just bring that purple. So what colour would that be here? I'm going to see this one. I'm going to add the purple in with it. I kind of like the colours that are getting brought out here actually. A nice little bit of purple workings going on. Okay, so I think I'll leave that at that. I'm going to dry it off. And whilst I'm drying that off, I'm going to clean this. Really trying to do too many things at once. Did I get all that then? So where we did our white acrylic paint before, I'm just going to add in some more water and get that back. I think I'll need a bigger brush for this actually, and really wet it down. Oh, maybe not. Let's have a see. This is going to ping everywhere. And do it with my right hand. Going everywhere, but it should, why is it not like landing on my page? It's like landing everywhere, but where it should land. So this is just wet white acrylic paint, really watered down. And the more you have on the brush, the better effect you get on your page. Some big splats there. So with them big splats, I'm just going to take my tool, where have you gone? And a little tool, a little dotting tool, and I'm going to pull that, and I'm just going to go like a shooting star. And this one can be the same for these big ones. Do some constellation stars if you wanted to. Just dip this in your acrylic and join them up. If you wanted to. Or you could use your Arteza gel pen. It's entirely up to you. But I don't think there's any need to really. I'm going to add a bit of white in there and just fan it out in places. Like little gassy white explosions in there every now and again. This is probably my first proper galaxy. And there we go. I don't want to overdo it too much. And I know when I take this tape off, that's ruined. But that is my galaxy. But I will need that deep indigo. And my black. Where did the black go? Outliner. Okay. 2 minutes in a second while I just clean some of this up. So that tape is no good. It's not giving me the edge I wanted. So I'll be back in a second. I'll just get everywhere cleaned up and then we'll be back for our next one. I mean, you'd obviously have to get some better tape than what I've got. Obviously, I'm not used to taping things up, so get some proper painting tape, whatever it is that you use to oh, that's a bit wonky. This cutter is getting rubbish. I don't even think that's straight. But yes, that's my Galaxy. That looks pretty cool. That's them two out of the way. So let me clean up. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back with everything cleaned up. So what I'm going to do now is make my moonlight sky. So I've just got a round top that I can put on. So we're going to have our moon about, say, here. And I'm going to go around it with my soft white Holbein. This is a really waxy pencil. So I'm hoping that by going all the way around this edge, you won't see it, but I will. But I'm hoping that the Inktense won't travel past this line with it being wax. So I'm putting a good, generous amount round. Hey, stop it. Naughty puppy. It's trying to get one of my wires. So I've gone round there, give that a real generous amount. So I can see it. So I'm hoping that when I come to do the actual knit, that it will work. We shall find out in 1 second. So what I want to do is I'm going to put some white down, white Derwent pencil, and a tiny bit of, where have you gone, natural grey. Ada. I'm just gonna wet that up, see what that gives me. Just gonna add a bit more white here. That's just a little bit too dark. I'm gonna mix that in here. And I'm just gonna put this on dry. Just no particular pattern because we'll be making that more moony later. Oh, well, that's a rubbish brush. Okay, so for now, that's the moon. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to douse the rest of the paper with this. And like I say, I'm hoping, yes, it does. It puts a barrier between the moon that I've done and the, it must have got slightly over my barrier there. So saturating the water, or the paper, not the water, giving it a really good layer of water here. We're going to do a similar colour to what we've just done there everywhere. So once we've got that a good, decent wetness around, I'm going to come in with the colour we've just made. So we're going to use our flat brush again. I'm going to come in and I'm going to start some of the first bits of cloud that I want in here. I'm going to keep building this up. Ada, you are being worse than a child. Stop it. Okay, let's mix in some of this grey, which is neutral grey. Add a little bit here. I just want it very off, very light grey. Yeah, let's try again. Because these will be literally, these will be the cloud effects, but they'll, compared to everything else I'll be putting on, these will be very light, and I'll add some of the Holbein white into it later. And with these being the Inktense as well, they will just stop layering down. So we've got some coming from here. We've got more coming out here. And I want it to look like it's got bits flowing up. And then everything else is going to be a lot darker. So we'll be adding more water to the page in a second. I have some coming off the top here. I'll just have some dotted around down here. And then, so it's all the same technique that I've used virtually on all three. So I think that's enough for the clouds. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to dry that layer up. See, this is buckling. It's really, it's not cheap paper. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add a bit more natural grey as I go, and I'm going to build up from them clouds. So mixing the white and the grey. And I'm going to start coming outwards. And I'm using my round flat brush here. Now all I'm going to do then is let's wet this section first, where I'm just working in this section. And I'm going to kind of just carry on from that cloud there. And use that to blend it in. I'm going to come just a tiny bit in here and then round under here. And my little brush, and my little tiny brush from here. That could have been disastrous. Okay. I don't really want to use that. That's going to be my wet down brush. So then coming under this one. And then what I've put down is my guidance, really. And each time we build up, I'm going to go darker and darker. But the page is not staying wet for whatever reason. It's really soaking it in. And I don't want to lose the stuff I've already got in there. Okay, let's move to this bit here. I'm just wetting it because I want it to blend into that other colour that we've made. If I didn't wet it, it'd just have a harsh line. Probably not very conventional. You shouldn't really have to keep sitting there re-wetting the page, but I'm having to for some strange reason. And as we keep going out for a minute, I'm going to be going darker and darker and darker. So let's wet this bit. But I prefer to just do it like this, so I know that it's not going to buckle too much, because I want it to be able to, I don't want it to work itself into the middle. I'm just going around all the edges of the ones I've just put down. Got some over here. I'm just going to go around the edge of this one. And then we've got all this big one here. Probably a bit more time consuming this than all the others, but I'm hoping it'll start giving the effect I'm after in a minute. So then I'm going to go and put another concentrated version of it now, and I'm going to go around the outside again, but this time I should be getting a darker colour. The page has stayed damp. And this is just pure natural grey using here. I'm going to travel that in there a little bit. You can see where I've used that Holbein white now, is giving me that glow around the moon that I was after. So any waxy pencil, so like a Prismacolor, would work well for there. I'm just going to put some slices in between this here. And I don't want it going. Just fading off. I just wet this bit because it's giving me too much of a defined line. I don't like that. And it's Inktense, so it's stuck then. So I am going to wet down these bits here. No natural grey on here. More water. And then travel round there. You've not quite done a good enough gradient there. It's all ended up looking like. But it'll be fine because I'll be using the Holbeins and stuff after it, putting some white pencils on. If I can do this, anyone can, because I am a complete beginner at watercolour paints. Literally, I am just learning. Oh, why did I put that in there then? I'll just fill this gap in here with this black one. And then I'm going to add natural grey. I'm going to add a bit of deep indigo into it. Just a tiny bit. Okay, and then while this bit is still dark, I'm going to come in with that and follow the stuff I've just done with it. I can tell the difference on the watercolour paper though, of how much nicer the paint flows on this kind of paper. Which is nice. And all this section here has got to be wet. I want to come in all this section now with this. I hope this works. I'm not going to rush it too much because I'm going to build up and add to this dark indigo. We're going to be adding way more. I just need to get this even. And it's gone lighter at the top. That means I've not mixed enough. So back in with a bit more mixture and hopefully I get it right. The right mixture. Looks the same. There we go. Much better. This is meant to be darker than the grey we've just put in. So that was a bit harsh then because it was so dark. Not dark enough, should I say. Not so dark. And in here. Maybe a little tiny bit more. And we're going to swap that up for... Oops. You've got to be very quick with Inktense. Very, very quick. Okay, so now I'm going to swap out the natural grey. That's done for now. And we'll be starting mixing the indigo with our black. So that's ink black and indigo mixed together. And we're going to be going in the same place. I think I'm going to have to do what I've been doing and keep wetting these sections. I'm thinking, do I dry? Do I start drying it? That bit all dark. It's too much that. That one is too much there. Kind of work with that one as it goes darker. Okay. It's going into there. I'm thinking I'm going to dry it. So it locks them layers in. And I'm going to use this really wet, a big section of it, and then mix with the black. And let's just start adding that in much more fluidly. You have to keep building it up. I just don't want to keep wetting the paper so much. I'm hoping this works, because I've never tried this before, so it'd be nice to it to work out really good. I want to keep the blue undertones in it. Okay, her in there. So let's do this again. The black down, and then the dark indigo down. I think I've ruined that bit. I have to ruin everything sometimes. But I said you're going to get it in real time, so you're going to see me frustrated as much as you're going to see me happy and like, woo, that looks cool. You are going to see me frustrated, because I can already tell it's going to start frustrating me. So all this bit isn't a cloud. This is all dry. That's a cloud there. Just blend that layer in. And all down here is dark. I think I'm going to wash over these ones so they're not as bright as the ones by the moon. And then I can add some highlight to them in places. So now I'm going to come in with more ink, less, just a tiny bit of indigo, and a lot more black. It was quite wet and watered. And then I'm going to go in with the black. And hopefully it's starting to look like a night sky. And then we'll go on. I like the texture of the paper as well. Quite quite a nice texture to this paper, even though it is buckling. I didn't think watercolour paper did, but this is. I'm just going to get the water and just pull that out a little bit. Blend it with clear water. I need a tiny bit of darkening floor and then the black. I hope I'm not too quiet and you can't hear what I'm mumbling about in places. Because I'm a terrible mumbler when I'm concentrating as well. Okay, that's leaking. So now I'm going to get rid of the dark indigo and I'm just going to work with black now. I'm going to start adding the black in. And kind of bounce it in. I quite like how that is. Kind of comes in here. Like a little bit of black in there. I want that coming right up to the moon. And then coming out into the open there. Hee, look at my moon, looks like it's glowing. I'm getting all excited about a moon. Because it looks like it's bright, bright, bright. All I'll put is a little bit of grey in it. Just back with our black. I kind of put this in between here. I don't kind of like what's happening. Kind of want it to look like broken up pieces. I change my mind on the pattern all the time. That's nothing new for me. Let's come down here. There's like, it's leaving like pigmentation in that, what's a bit strange. Not pigmentation, like it's not fully going into the paper. And I don't know why that is. But that would be my inexperience with watercolours. Maybe someone more experienced would know why it's doing that. Because I've not put loads of water down, but I'm trying to get it to go and fill in them areas. I mean, it will add to my effect. It'll add to the starry effect that I want after. But for right now, I don't want white bits like that. And keeping going over them is not working. I don't think. I'm trying to think whether I want to add some like streaky black bits in there. They're just streaking off. And with these here, I'm just streaking off into. Yes, I like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to leave it at that because that black is not changing. I'm going to dry it up and I might give it one last layer to see if it makes a difference to that patch, you know. But I know watercolour is not meant to be black, thick. So we'll just leave it at that, just like that. I'm going to work on the moon. I'm going to come back with the natural grey. I'm just going to clean the big brush off. Wet my moon down. Is this the natural grey? And I want to add a tiny bit of white to it. There's a lot of black in that. Let's mix this up. Okay, 1 second. We need some more white over here. I find it much easier to work with Inktense on the palette than trying to colour it in with the pencil. So let me get my picture of my moon up. I'm going to have little like lines here. It would help if I actually wet the moon more. I'm just going to work in this bit first. In this section. And then add a bit more in. And I love this, right, the watercolour in Inktense, because it does stay in the places you put it. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to dry it off before I do my next colours. That turns brightness down on there. Quite bright. So I'm going to go a touch darker now. I'm going to wet my brush, go a touch dark and just blob. So re-wet that bit area there. And then just blob it in. I'm just thinking in my mind, craters. Where does the moon have craters? Dry that off again. And then I'm going to add a bit of black into it now. Purely because I'm just going to wet here. Because here it just has some really dark black sections in the moon. I'm just going to add that in there. I'm just dropping it. Oh, nearly did it with the pencil then. So I've just got a real reference of a moon up. And all I'm doing is getting the black and I'm dropping it in the darker areas that I've used. Just putting a blob of water down and then dropping in. We have one here. Bouncing that in, and then here it has, I'm not going to do it with has a circle here, and we'll do lines from that later. I think that's probably good enough. Let's use a bit of this lighter grey to blend some of that out again. They just look a little bit too spotty. That's better. And maybe there's a tiny touch that kind of runs up into there and then across here like that. A bit here. So let's just get the grey in this as well. I'm just going to put some more like travelling lines through these. It just else gives it that appearance again of just that nighttime-ish glow. Some clouds travelling by. I want to emphasise some of that darker section. I can. Quite like how that looks. What I'm going to do, I'm going to dry that off now because that is done for the painting. I'm going to do my white Holbein. I'm going to pick up some of these areas and add in some really light white bits. And then I'm going to emphasize that glow around here. Just bring it out slightly. That just helps give it that glow, that even brighter white glow that we're after. I think this one's turned out to be my favourite of the lot, I must admit. I'm just going to add some really white bits in here. And then maybe some white bits in here. These are just to highlight it. It's not, I don't want it pure brilliant white. It just helps the moon's picking up on just some of them edges and them clouds that are left in the sky before it goes completely white. Black, sorry. White, or white on the brain. And I think that looks really good. So then next up is I need my white gel pen. I'm sure I put that in there. If my Posca, my little Posca will do it. So from here, I just want to send some lines travelling. No, it's not going to work. Thank God my white gel pens are actually out. It's got to be in here. This is where everything gets put what I'm using at the time. Everything's been chucked in a tub. That's not what everyone wants to hear. It's whether it will work on this or not. So these can be quite easily replicated in your colouring book, so long as it will take, this is the 0.8, I don't know how good this one is. Or whether you can see the lines I'm drawing from it. Just zoom you in a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing on the moon. Let me make sure that's clear. That'll be clear what I'm doing. There we go, that's it. So all I'm doing is the little thing that you can see from the moon. That little circle, the white in the middle. That iconic thing I think that everyone can see. And then what else does the moon have on? It has some other like really white cratery bits. I'm just going to put them on. Some kind of little crack lines. You can hear some strange noises coming from upstairs. So some are really close together and coming over. I'm not going to do too many. I don't want it to ruin the effect of what we've got going on there. do a little white bits, but when I splat it anyway with the I mean, that's just giving me the effect I want anyway there. So I'm just going to get the tiny bit of white acrylic paint again. In just the tiniest little bit because I don't need loads. So I'm going to do with the white acrylic. I've just put a little blob on the end. I'm getting my flat brush, what we used before, with clean water, pulling that blob down, and I'm just going to make it into a nice loose paint that's perfect for flicking. I think by far this is my favourite background out of the three that I've created today. I'm going to do this a bit more controlled because I don't want, it's not a galaxy, it's just a night sky. So all I want is just the odd, I've done it too thin, just the odd like star effect around there. I don't want anything major. Can you see what I'm doing? Just these blobs, just the odd, the bigger one would be the better. Trying to get up, there we go. Trying to get a big blob to come on, that's it. And that is about it. One big blob just missed the mark there, landed on my desk. Come on, just one big, I want a big rat. If in doubt, stick it on yourself. And just put one here. And that is about it. So let's zoom that out. And that, everybody, is my, get that to focus a little bit better. There we go. That is my glowing moonlight night sky. So I'm going to peel these off because I don't know how well I got the edge on this one. If we manage to get a nice border. Oh, it's actually stuck this time. Oh dear. Come on, I'll get that up anyway. I'm not too worried, but this must have been a stickier piece. Not done too bad. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. So, there you have it. There's pull a lot further out. Get things out of the way. So we had my galaxy background and my daytime clouds. So I hope everyone enjoyed them ones. They may not be perfect. I may have got slightly stressed, but they are 3 sky backgrounds and a galaxy that you can do in your colouring books with Inktense, so long as the book takes the paper. If not, you could always cut your page of your book out, do it on paper like this, and then stick your images over the top. That's a good idea. But yes, I really enjoyed this one. It does look quite effective. It's just all warping and needs flattening out, but I think they are really good. I like them. So thank you very much, everyone, and I'll see you all on day 19. If you'd like what you've seen today, please drop me a comment and give me some feedback. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, give my bell a little dingle and press all notifications, and you'll be notified anytime I upload a video or go live. So thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying it, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.